interactions. We have with us Mr. Datla Venkatesh Reddy. He's known as Venki. He's the founder and coach at Kriya Learning. Mr. Venki is also an engineer by profession, and he's also an alumnus of MDI, Management Development Institute, Gurgaon. He's had a good experience in software companies before he jumped in and he founded Kriya Learning. So, Mr. Reddy, or I would like to call you Venki. Yeah. So, I've got a few questions for you. With technology embracing education, tablets for example, how do you see the future of Indian education at K-12 and higher technical graduation level? Can technology be seen as the major role player in the upcoming educational transformation?
First, let me thank you for inviting for this interaction, and I would like to point out that before getting into starting Kriya Learning, I was the country head for KU Education India, which is one of the largest US education companies. So there I had exposure to education before starting Kriya Learning about 2 years back. Coming back to your question about the impact of technology in transforming Indian education scenario, I think there are a couple of points that we all need to be aware of. One, this process of technology invading the classrooms has started about a decade back with big digital content, smart boards, and a few other tools. My personal belief is that technology shouldn't be viewed as the end game. It's only an enabler. When we say we, the educators and all stakeholders that guide children should actually take care in ensuring that it's a tool and doesn't become an overhyped thing. But it's very important to note that when we try to increase the reach and access of education, that is where I believe technology has a transformational role as far as India is concerned, in increasing the reach of education to the nooks and corners. That's how I would look at it. Tablet to me is, as a specific example, it's about, it helps you find information, not knowledge. The process, the guidance to the child on how to use the tablet and its information to generate knowledge, be it through hands-on learning, is how I would look at technology. A very good enabler, but not the end game.
The entire thought of tablet has been because of current government's special emphasis on tablet and the thought that it would act as a solution to the current education problem.
I think they're right to an extent, because a tablet is an affordable solution of taking be it internet connectivity or information or access to knowledge that is available anywhere in the world, right from Khan Academy to our own digital content. I think in that way it's a very powerful tool if it takes off.
How important is STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, STEM education, and how can to our children, how can this be made possible in the current Indian education scenario?
Yeah, I think there's no doubt that STEM as a discipline, although very recent phenomena, has been gaining a lot of attention, which is a very good thing for us, that somebody like Engineering Watch is trying to garner attention and drive awareness. One of the important things about discussing STEM is about the misconception that as long as you have a good science lab and a math lab, then you think you are doing STEM education, then there could be nothing more farther from truth. Because science lab and math lab is something we already had even when I was studying in my schools 30 years back, right? STEM is all about an integrative discipline of trying to help children understand that in real life, big innovations don't happen by having science and math thought process separately. It is about how do you apply them using design thinking. That's all about STEM. And I think with stakeholders like media from Engineering Watch, with a few players like us and schools realizing because of opening up of international exposure that schools get, I think STEM is something that will definitely be one of the key things that schools should be adopting.
So e-learning leads a student in an endless world of study material. So how shall a student prioritize this enormous data according to his syllabus? What do you think is the role of teacher in today's changing tech-savvy education paradigm?
I think you have asked a very relevant question, which I see even my own child being inundated with so much of information that he probably needs 10 lives if he had to actually go through all the information that is available at his disposal. I think the onus of helping children navigate this ocean without sinking into it is on the teacher, in terms of helping him know when to use or when to access information, rather than being a passive consumer of all the information that is thrown at him. I think what we need is active creators of content rather than passive consumers. To the extent about what is the tech savvy quotient that a teacher would need, I think if he or she has to help the children, there is a certain level of exposure that the teacher should have before she can navigate. So yes, I think there is that much technology exposure that teachers should get before they guide children in helping them navigate through this morass of information. More importantly, they should be told that this is an enabling tool that they could use as part of their real learning, and not just consume all the digital content thrown at them.
With your experience of interacting with schools, what is your take on the stage that these teachers are vis-a-vis what you just said? So
I think this is a very question with answers that not many might like, if I would actually have to bear it out. Different schools have had different levels of exposure. Initially, the digital content providers had people put up there who would operate on behalf of the teachers. Okay, although teachers were told to use this in conjunction with their teaching. In two-tier towns, it could be just the teacher switching on and say, "Chalo bachon, just watch the video and your lesson is done." That's a very dangerous precedent. Another evolution has gone by, where some schools which have seen this more as a fancy item or more as a competitive pressure, because the school in the next lane is actually having put up a board, have taken this, are now getting out of it because the 5-year contract is done and they have milked the value out of it. But there's a large percentage of schools which believe that this is one of the core minimum for them to be future prepared. So I think that's a positive sign. And more importantly, the arrival of new players still in the digital content, large players, right, is a sign that this is going to be a very long-lasting future as part of Indian education scenario.
Still, I would, I'm still looking for that answer. That where do they stand?
I think teachers probably are using this as a stopgap measure when they really are out of their groove to teach something in schools that are not so mature. Okay, in terms of using this more as a stopgap measure where they could not deliver, or if a particular teacher is absent, that's when the digital content comes into play, but not as a primary integral part of their teaching. Okay. Of course, there are also schools on the other spectrum where they are very tech savvy. More than being tech savvy, it is about the trustees' involvement in utilizing this in the right way. I think that's the key thing. It's less to do with technology, because to a large extent the provider of the digital content ensures that the tech problems are removed, but the trustees' involvement only ensures that this is utilized in the right way as an integral part of teaching and not just as a stopgap measure.
I would say that what I understand from what you just said is that in this process of reaching out to students and improve their learnability, teachers play a very important role. You cannot have a parallel structure wherein you have your own person, or a vendor might have his or her own person who is promoting technology. So you have to, teachers are the channel that one has to go through. So in that process, if you have to educate teachers, is there any specific initiative that Kriya Learning is undertaken to kind of get teachers under their fold?
I think you have hit the problem on the nail. In terms of one of the key issues why the digital content players full utilization of the content doesn't happen is because of what you have pointed out about trying to run a parallel system. Although Kriya Learning is not into digital content, for whatever solution that we are intending to provide, we are very specific about the school's teachers owning the program. We have a very rigorous 160-hour training program for the teachers to actually understand how this program has to be delivered. I mean, a simple way to overcome this hesitation is, I mean, school teachers are usually burdened, so there is definitely a certain kind of resistance. So one way to solve this problem is to throw money and get a Kriya coach to deliver the program. But we have consciously stayed away from that solution and have said, whatever it takes, even if it is costlier for us to train you rather than putting a person, we would rather go the way of training you rather than we delivering the program directly. That's the essence of it.
The coming generation might probably face a greater challenge in terms of competition. What are the initiatives that Kriya Learning is undertaking to make educational institutions future ready?
Yeah, I think if we mean by being prepared for competition is preparing for competitive exams, there are already hundreds of schools that are doing, and nobody can do it better than India, right? But one thing to note is, if all these students coming out of this hyper competitive preparation schools, each one scoring more than 95% or 95 beyond 95 percentile, is a good sign, then why is it that there is no great invention or innovation coming out of India? So I think there is a fundamental difference in being prepared for a competitive world versus preparing for competitive examinations. Kriya Learning, I think we have done a lot of research and our own collective experience of being in the industry around 20 years has shown that skills like critical thinking, problem solving, the ability to apply the concept that you have learned, that is what matters rather than knowing the concept itself. There is an anecdote that I would like to point out if there is enough time. We have done some data about the last 10 years. So in the last 10 years we have supplied about 100,000 or a million of our best brains to the leading 100 corporations around the world. Okay, in those 10 years, there's around $500 billion of wealth that was generated about from the work that these people were involved. And when you take a calculation of the amount of contribution, it's around 85%. But what is the wealth that these 1 million people own? It's about 0.01%. Which means it is not just about knowing, it's about how do you use what you know, which is, I think, very important for you to succeed in the coming competitive world. That is all about what Kriya is, in helping you apply creatively, critically and innovatively.
Along with technology, what are the other factors that can improve the pedantic methods of knowledge delivery? What do you suggest the not so tech savvy teachers?
I think you are trying to address the vast majority of 85% of schools where maybe by reasons of lack of resources, money or whatever it is. I think technology, while it is very important to be prepared for 21st century, is not the only end game. I can quote a research from Main Laboratories, US, which did on the effectiveness of different methods of learning and teaching. So while it says about audiovisual aids, which is digital content or technology in the popular perception, increases by 20% compared to a direct lecture method. Discussion actually has an impact of 50% improvement when you allow children to discuss, or one step beyond that, when you actually get them to do hands-on practice what they are actually learning as a concept, it increases by 75%. And when you allow children to actually teach, which is pure learning, because when you teach you really get to understand, so that's 90%. So beyond that 20% learning, you have methods which show an improvement of 50, 75, 90%. So this is what all those not so tech savvy teachers can actually adopt. This requires a mindset change when they allow actually children to start questioning them, start discussing the class and not be pin drop silent. I think there's a lot of bigger hope for not so tech savvy teachers when they allow a different kind of teaching that can happen.
What is the aim that Kriya Learning seeks to achieve through Excel Learning Program?
So Excel Learning Program is our flagship offering, which is intended to deliver 21st century skills, as we call. So it's a complementary and supplementary program that works in partnership with schools. We cannot take away the core of what schools do currently. So schools do a great job of laying the conceptual framework. It is only in giving opportunities for children to apply what they have learned in the classroom. That is where I think they need help of specialist providers like Kriya or anybody else who has the right program. So Kriya is also about an interdisciplinary program which combines science, technology, design thinking, digital media and arts, because we believe all this actually have an interplay when solving real world problems. As long as we help children connect what they learn in class to see how it solves a real world problem, I think that's true learning and on a more permanent plan. So we have this program that starts right from grade 1 onwards. Probably the only program that runs from grade 1 to this kind of a depth, right from grade 1 to grade 10. It's important to start early because there are a lot of kahavas in India which say that as long as you can't train them or teach them when they're young, there is no way you can do it when their DNA is set. So I think Kriya is about 21st century skills in an interdisciplinary way, but more importantly driven not through an ad hoc set of activities, because we don't like the word activities. We go beyond and call a truly experiential program that combines with a structured curriculum, a set of manipulatives that need to help the child build what he has visualized, a rigorous training program, because end of the day we want the school to deliver this and not we being an external provider to do this. I think that's about Kriya.
Indian education system faces a big challenge of marks-based learning rather than learning by doing. So as Kriya Learning, a pioneer of studio-based learning model, how do you intend to inculcate learning by doing attitude in the students?
I think this is a big question which a lot of vested interest that runs into billions of dollars, not even millions. I think there is an awareness, like I repeat, with many stakeholders like you, a few players like us, and parents, because of an increasing global exposure, figure out that marks-based learning is not the key. I mean, even our government has declared this decade as a decade of innovation. They have set up something called the National Innovation Council under Sam Pitroda. I think these are all good signs, okay. And to solve this problem, I don't think it is just a player like Kriya Learning, but I think all the stakeholders involved need to figure out, understand that great innovation, wealth generation and future employability is all about being able to apply what they have learned, and not this 95 percentile marks that don't count if you go to a Stanford or an MIT where innovation, just as an example. So I think it's very important all of the stakeholders involved join hands. Kriya Learning, from our perspective, we are trying to drive this awareness to the two stakeholders. One is to the principals. We conduct a direct engagement. We conduct free workshops where they get to understand what hands-on real world solving is about as opposed to marks-based learning. We also conduct workshops at a larger forum like Inspire, which is run by Teach for India, which is a large NGO that you must be aware. On the other hand, we also engage parents and children by way of Kriya Ignited Minds Challenge, where they get to understand that their theoretical 95% might count for nothing if they are not able to actually apply what they have learned. So one is the parents and the children, one is the educator segment that we try to do our small bit in this exercise.
You spoke about Ignited Minds Challenge. We want to know more about it.
Yeah, it's an initiative from Kriya. It's a 2-day event where, we have lots of Olympiad exams, right? Science Olympiad, Math Olympiad. Still, children can actually read a set of books provided by the same provider and go to attend that exam. to me that takes away the purpose of helping children figure out are they applying what they're learning. So Kriya Ignited Minds Challenge is a hands-on challenge where children have to apply what they have learned in class across disciplines, not just a discipline. So they have to bring forth their math, science, arts, history, communication skills. All of these come together and are displayed in solving a real world problem. Last year was the first time when we actually started. The first edition was in Hyderabad. Although we had more schools willing to participate, we just took about 20 schools because that was what our center could accommodate at that point of time. So in this 2-day event, one day children are actually trained in the process of design thinking, on the use of different manipulatives, on building what they have in their mind. So one day of rigorous training by external experts, design thinking. The second is where they are given a problem statement in the morning, and at an 8-hour stretch they have to build the prototypes. So last year the theme was about building equipment that could save lives in case of natural disasters. So the schools were amazed to figure out that given the kind of freedom and a little bit of training, the right kind of training, children could achieve something amazing. So that was last year's Ignited Minds Challenge. So this year we plan to extend it to about 5 more cities and eventually have a national rollout. That's a Kriya Ignited Minds Challenge.
I've got 2 more questions to ask.
Sure.
You're aware about this recent school summit event that Engineering Watch had conducted, and we were discussing about it, and you had mentioned that the definition of STEM, which it ought to be, isn't understood in the same fashion it should be. So, and I also see a passion about this whole concept, and somewhere having this discussed with you. So, could you define STEM education and its importance for a school principal or a decision maker? Could you define it for their interest?
I think STEM, when they call science, technology, engineering and math, technically speaking there is no technology and engineering as part of a regular school curriculum. So this whole concept of STEM as a thought process has evolved in the West. And one of the reasons why, even though it has evolved in the West, it is important for us also to understand it and see how we could adapt it, is because STEM learning has been found after pouring in billions of dollars by the Barack Obama's previous administration as the only way for United States to remain at the cutting edge of innovation. I mean, they are at the cutting edge of innovation, as we all know, but they also have a fear of being left behind, which is why they have spent a lot of time, money, efforts and figured out that they have to inculcate this kind of an integrative learning. I mean, I will go ahead and define what STEM is, but that's what is the importance of STEM. If we want to see India not just as a back office outsourcing destination, but be in the forefront of innovation, I think inculcating a true STEM education is important in our schools. Now, what is STEM? It is easy to define what it is not. Having a discrete science lab or math lab, which is part of a regular curriculum, is not STEM. Or for that matter, even having a math lab or a math activity or a science activity in itself or a robotics in itself primarily is not about STEM. I think it is about providing an integrative opportunity for children to see the interplay between science, math, technology and a design thinking thought process. I think when you have a structured curriculum and approach, you cannot have a STEM class in the regular science class. You should have a specific structure, a curriculum, an approach, an environment and a specific project that is designed to deliver STEM outcomes. I think that is very key for schools to understand that it is beyond science and math in discrete functions.
So one last question, with your thought focusing on the need of critical thinking and the entire importance of interdisciplinary sort of experience in these school students, how do you see in this light of thought process, how do you see the recent Delhi University 4-year fellowship, turning from a 3-year-old programs to a 4-year interdisciplinary program? If you are following that, how do you see it in that light? Is it kind of going in a forward direction, in a positive direction, where it will be the students here from these universities will be able to compete with the Western universities? Is it a step in the forward direction?
Although I don't claim to know much about this development, from whatever I have understood as you explained now, it's a very, very positive step when you change it from a narrow, insular, unipolar course structure to an interdisciplinary structure. And the fact that you have moved from a 3-year to 4-year itself gives you the freedom to spend more time where Indians are known for their breadth but not for their depth. I think this change of or the introduction of a new course helps them to get to the depth as well and compete on an even keel with our global audience. I think another important point which didn't come out in our discussion is we tend to most of our parents and to an extent educators feel happy about we or their students achieving 95% in their state exam or some competitive exam within their state. But I think our children are no longer going to compete within their state. I mean, 5 years back, if you are aware, BP was the flower of or the rising sector. Today I don't see anybody talking about BP. Why? Because Philippines has taken over, right? So it's not about we competing within our narrow confines of a city, state or district. I think our children also need to be made aware of this global perspective which comes as part of 21st century skills. I think STEM is an integral part of 21st century skills, and that's what our schools should start looking at.
It's a great way to finish off what Mr. Venkatesh Datla says, that a student of today has to prepare himself or herself for the international competitive scenario, and that is where STEM education somewhere comes into picture. So we thank Mr. Venkatesh Datla for having come to Engineering Watch Studio and having spent time with us. We and our audience have gained considerably because of his visionary thought process on schools, what should be taught in schools, and how teachers will continue to play an important role in improving the learning of students. Thank you. Thank you.
I think the pleasure has been mine, and I wish good luck to Engineering Watch for all the good work it is doing. Thank you.